Namaskar and welcome to the next episode of India Bounce Back. And today I have an amazing personality who has uh, got a tremendous amount of corporate exposure, experience, doing something unconventional, and then coming out with a great solution for an existing problem in the country. And today, so I'm not going to reveal much in the earlier part. Let there be a suspense when I'll ask the question. So let me introduce the man. So first of all, Abhishek Srivastava ji, welcome you on India Bounce Back. Thank you so much
Thank you.
for giving your time and coming. So Abhishek Srivastava ji is a co-founder of MBAtrek Pvt Limited. He has 10 years of global experience. He's an MBA from Indian School of Business and has a master in environmental engineering degree from Georgia Tech, USA. He was a recipient of outstanding master students. And he has done his bachelor's in environmental engineering from Delhi College of Engineering. So all the DC guys, your alumni is here today. He has directly mentored and coached over 100 plus young executives through various formal and informal mentoring and coaching programs. He's extremely passionate about making young students and professionals ready and relevant executives to hit the ground running. And that's why he co-founded MBAtrek with Alok Srivastava. Prior to MBAtrek, he worked as the head of business planning and strategy for the enterprise and education business for Apple India. He has closely worked with India sales leadership on building and executing annual and 3-year strategic roadmap for the enterprise and education segment, in addition to his business planning and responsibilities. He was one of the founding members of the sustainability practice out of India. He has also worked at Schneider Electric as a business development and strategy manager, leading the remote energy management, and with Trinity Consultant as a senior environmental consultant. Abhishek ji, welcome you. A wonderful journey, a long journey of corporate exposure and going and following your passion from environmental to working with Apple to MBAtrek. What I read just now was a professional introduction, which I think people can read on the internet and can search for it. I really want to know your introduction, your learning, your journey of struggles, how you find solutions, and everything about you in your own words.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dr. Dingra. Really appreciate you and your team actually giving me the time to come and speak and share sort of my thoughts around this. And I think it's a fantastic initiative that you have going at this point.
Thank you.
I think it's really required in
you.
today's scenario. So I think let me take a personal view of myself, something that we were sort of basically chatting about before we started off. I have been a nonconformist all my life. I have always taken a different view to everybody else. So if I would see people standing in line somewhere as a kid, I would not go stand there. And I would not like to be told to go and stand there. I would want to do things which were different from other people. And I didn't get placed into environmental engineering. I chose it because I liked all the sciences. I liked mathematics. And interestingly enough, the only engineering which combines physics, chemistry, maths, bio is actually environmental engineering. And that was my number one choice. So I've always done things differently. I think it has been also very rewarding for me, both personally and professionally. And I think today is a time for young India to do things differently also. And I think one of the things I've always told people, young people that I interact with, we were the age of desperation. You should be the age of inspiration.
True.
Right? We were desperate young people trying to get a job in the early 2000s. India was still growing. There was a lot of desperation. We were aspiring to things. Didn't have them in our hands.
True.
Today, I think this generation and the young people who are coming to the workforce, I think they need to be the source of inspiration for the country.
True.
And I think that's something that is driving me towards now what I'm doing today, which is basically helping young India build their careers. I think one of the things that has not happened in our country through our education system, our mentoring system, is we don't focus on building careers. We try to find jobs.
True.
And the reality of the matter is you build careers, you don't find jobs. Yes, we did. So you had to do that earlier in life. Earlier in India's history, again, resources were less. We were developing as a country. Things were very scarce. Jobs was less. The economy was small. So you would struggle and strive for anything. I think now the world is very different, and where India stands today is also in a very, very, very different. Even with the pandemic and everything that comes with it, I think it is we're looking at a mountain of opportunity today, and I think that I see my role now, personally and professionally, is to unlock the best in people.
Wow.
I think that's sort of that's my guiding principle.
Wow.
How can I unlock the best in people?
Wonderful. Wonderful. Uh, so, uh, if I just want you to sum up your corporate experience, you really mentioned two great words, job and career. I think this is something which I'm to all my viewers, this is something, the core difference, one of the core difference between all the successful professionals. They work towards creating a career, not just having a job, or saving a job in their mind and all that stuff. I think you need to have this thought process. Thank you for bringing that up. Now, my question is, if you really have to sum up your corporate experience in 5 points, how would you do that?
Um, I think it's been a it's been a lot of learning. So I think it has been multi-dimensional and multinational. Uh, just by the virtue of working with all these companies, I've worked with over 25 nationalities. I've
Wow.
physically worked with them. So not over Zoom or whatever. I've actually sat across the table over 25. And that itself is a massive learning, both personally and professionally. Um, I think number three, I have been very blessed to work with people um, who have great IQ, but
Okay.
I have also been more privileged to work with people who have extremely fantastic EQ. And I would rate EQ any day way, 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 way ahead of IQ.
True.
Um, I have seen my share of bad leaders also. Probably at some point of time would have also been a bad leader to someone. But I think most of the time when I was leading, I would like to believe I'd done a good job with that. And I think probably the last thing with my journey to this point is every step that I took. Um, it's hard to say if I was planning for it completely, but it built upon the last step. So I'm still very happy with that because there has been very little overlap. It's one foundation building on the other, which I think is essentially the right direction for any career to take. Right? If one step and the other keeps adding on, rather than you're trying to just go through a career and keep doing similar kind of roles. So yeah, I think that really worked for me.
So, moving ahead to the next question. So, if I precisely want to know a little more about your experience with working with Apple, as you were handling as head of the business planning and strategy for enterprise and education business in India, a little about your association with Apple, because this is now, there's a lot of curiosity and a lot of enthusiasm for young generation to work with this
Mm.
brand.
Yeah, so it's very interesting. I get asked the question a lot, and I have to keep telling people I signed a lot of NDAs, guys. So don't get me into a lot of trouble. Um, but obviously, I may not be at luxury to talk business, but I'll
Yes.
give you sort of my 2 cents around the company. I think it's a wonderful company. Um, it's a very strange company because for a company which is essentially Fortune 1 or Fortune 2, I mean, they're basically
True.
top 2 or 3, and they're definitely one of the largest in terms of market cap in the world, and maybe trade between Amazon and them, all that. They behave exactly like a startup. For a company of that size, it is insane the way that the company behaves exactly like my company today. And it would blow your mind because I'd come from Accenture, and Accenture is, you can't put a step without following a process. There is a process in the company of how to take steps in the office,
Mm.
right? We had to order coffee or tea. There is a process where you go to a system and you enter your cost code, and you go through the process, and only then will you get tea or coffee from the pantry for the client. Otherwise, you cannot be served tea or
True.
coffee. You
True.
will have to go yourself if to do it. And there is also a process for that, by the way, right? And it is, so going from such a process centric mindset to a large company where you expect it to be more intense, it's actually completely the other way around. So I think that is just insane for someone who would expect that, a company of that size would have the most stringent processes and process control and all that. It works completely differently. And I think this is where what sets the company apart also, because that's where the innovation, the creativity, the wow factor comes through. And I think that's something that I found very unique with the company. That it is a company which encourages, and they had a value at Apple which I really liked, was seeing around the corners. I was amazed by the level of detail that people had in terms of how they would look at things, and they would always try to see around the corner and find something different, which was not, which you would be completely amazed. You'd be like, I never thought about this. I mean, I've been in discussions where people have argued about, you know how customers would behave in a store. If we are in the enterprise segment, uh, how should we be packaging our enterprise offering, right? And I'm like, it's a Mac, it's okay, it's a PC. We'll bundle a few things with it. Let's get the price, and gets the volume discount. And people are looking at me blankly like, Abhishek, this is Apple. Price and all we can discuss later. Let's talk about what are we solving for the customer. I said, it's a PC. It's solving computing. There is no, don't make it complicated.
True.
But the funny thing is, by making it complicated, by putting in the effort to understand every little detail, I realized you, that is how you build customer experience.
True.
You walk through every little aspect of the customer experience, and you make sure it is absolutely perfect. And that was amazing because I've not seen that anywhere else. I've worked across many companies, and I said worked across multiple nationalities, but that was so homogeneous at Apple, regardless of the nationality you interacted with, because I worked across the
True.
world with different teams. They all held it together on the same value. And I think a lot of it comes from the founder. Steve
True.
Jobs was a perfectionist and therefore only wanted people to follow that philosophy. But it's funny that over so many years, and the company has been around for a long time, 30, 40 years, for those values to still hold, which are
Commendable.
essentially fundamentally founding values.
Mm.
I think it's very interesting, especially in a tech company,
True.
right? Okay, in a Tata or a Birla or a Reliance, some of the founding values will move because the promoters are there, the families are there, and all that is there. But not so much now, right? Most of the core group which started with Steve Jobs is probably not there. A few people are still there, but it's funny how through so many people that same culture has percolated. I
True.
think culture was one big thing.
Yes.
It's an organization which was heavy on culture, heavy on people, um, and I think that's something very unique about the company. It hires very unique people.
True.
So I was actually privileged to be there because I didn't see myself as truly unique. because I found far more unique people than myself. And I think that was the great learning.
Wow.
I think if not anything, don't go to Apple necessarily just only for the money or for the snob value or the branding. Go to experience the strangest but the funnest place to work ever at, if there is a right word. I don't know if I got the English right, but the it is the funnest place to work, but it's also extremely strange, like the way it operates. So I think that's really important for people to learn and see.
Wonderful. I think that's a good learning for the viewers. So moving ahead now, the day arrived in your life when you decided to put all your corporate exposure, experience, knowledge, education, everything, and started something of your own with the name MBAtrek. I want to know the story of MBAtrek, how it started, and motivation behind it.
So it's very interesting. A lot of people say, "Oh, when did that switch go on?" Because like most of my colleagues or most of my peers from ISB, everybody's kind of in late 30s now, so everybody's kind of going through that crisis in life, mid-career crisis, where they're like, do I want to report to somebody, do I want to work for someone? And people keep asking me like, if I can say it in Hindi, boss kahin se to feeling aayi hogi. And I'm like, actually there is no feeling. Interestingly for me, I think it was building up. It was like a pressure being built in a pressure cooker,
Yeah.
and it was one was waiting for the time that the whistle will go off. And I think for me it started as early as 2016 actually.
Oh, okay.
2015, 2016. I moved over to MBAtrek in 20. In fact, my last couple of years in my corporate life, I was actually moonlighting for MBAtrek. So I was helping building up the concept with Mr. Srivastava, my co-founder. So I was doing a lot of work in the background, a lot of research work, and so I think I took a slightly different approach. And this is something I've realized. I may be generalizing too much, but uh, the older founders, so someone who starts up after 35, uh, if I that sounds really bad actually, being the older founder, but somebody who starts at 35, I think for us people, I think it builds up over a period of time, right? A lot of things come in your head, a lot of things go out of your head. Eventually you start analyzing and saying, okay, this is something I want to do, right? This is something I can scale. This is something, if I were to build a business plan, I can build end to end. So interestingly enough, one of the reasons I actually did MBAtrek uh, was, if somebody said, can you build a 5-year plan for the company? I could. Interestingly enough, I couldn't do it for a lot of the awesome environmental area things that I was actually coming from. So if somebody said, can you build a 5-year plan on electric vehicle charging infrastructure? Or said, because the ecosystem necessarily wasn't there. The problem is still emerging in the country. But here somehow, because of my corporate experience and because I was mentoring and coaching so many young people, I could actually build a 5-year plan.
Mm.
And I think that was a big push. And I think for the people who are the younger founders, I think it just happens overnight, because I've spoken to a lot of young people. They're like, oh, I just decided, that's it, finish. I
True.
woke up one day, I was eating in my canteen, I was having some Maggie, and that's it. That epiphany came to me. I think for us, for me particularly, I think it was a gradual process where it was like, okay, yes, I'm good at it. And I think the key thing is, I would like to thank a lot of my mentees, because I mentor at ISB and Georgia Tech, at Accenture and Apple. A lot of people pushed me into it.
Mm.
So a lot of people say, hey, you're really good at this. Do you think you should be just, somebody said, can you just be a manager and not do work?
Mm.
I said, no, I still have to get salary. So they said, no, you're just a very good manager. Can you just be a manager? A lot of people actually told me, why don't you move to human resources
Mm.
or HR? And it's like, I don't know, man. It's
Mm.
12 years.
Mm.
I didn't even do an HR specialization in my MBA and whatnot, right? There's so many bright people from HR. I'm not even from an HR college, right? The XLRI or the XISS or the TIS, all those fancy places. I said, no, I don't know. I can't. I don't think I'm qualified. But a lot of people said, no, you make for a great human resource person. Why don't you do something
Right.
around it? And I think that's when this halo effect sort of everything came together. Uh, it's hard to say that it was one particular moment. Um, while in the movies, everybody will show you that it's one particular moment, but I don't think in real life it's typically one moment. It
One
takes,
moment.
yeah,
Yeah.
it takes few things coming together.
Yeah. I think the comparison between the early age startup and then startup at that, maybe at that time they don't have a lot of exposure, so they don't introspect or sort of analyze too much. I think at this time, when I see my friends or some people coming out of, from a wonderful or a lucrative corporate life, starting on their own, a lot of time they analyze things from all, they put all their experience into small and small thoughts. Sometimes it delays their
Yeah,
decision making.
yeah, no, absolutely it is. I think at that stage you are more driven by passion
True.
to do something awesome. I think in this case you are more around the need has built up so much. Either your anger or frustration to try to solve it is what drives you there, right? You get so frustrated with the damn thing. You're like, okay, I'm done with this. I can't see this every day. I can't wake up in the morning and deal with it every day. You know what? Because it used to happen to me every time I go to campuses, and the top campuses, right? The best campuses and the IMs and the who's of India. You'd see the same problem,
True.
and you're like, man, there's something wrong. Like and that would eat you alive. And I think essentially that anger slash frustration makes you start up.
True.
You're like,
True.
okay, I'm going to solve this now. I'm done with it.
Yeah.
So maybe that's the answer.
True. 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 But how you realized now, because this is going to be a interesting question for all the startups and entrepreneurs, how you realize that yes, there is a need for this kind of a concept in India.
Okay, Faf, that's actually a very 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 good question. I think where I realized it was because by nature of working with Apple and Accenture, I had hired across tiers of campuses. I don't like this concept of tier one, tier four, but that's what people understand. So I will,
Use
I
them.
will, honor it. Um, and what I realized, the basic corporate skills and the basic corporate orientation was missing at tier one and tier four. And once you see something like you're like, boss, there's something fundamentally wrong, and that pushed me that because then it told me there is a market everywhere.
Hmm.
So basically 400,000 mbas were or 4 lakh mbas and about 10 lakh engineering students. It's just engineering, bba, bcom, bsc and all that is just even a larger number. All these people need help, because if my tier 1 campus cannot solve it, my tier 4 can definitely not solve it. It's not in the academic curriculum. Uh, to a larger extent, I think industry needs to take the blame that industry has not come forward and actually tried to resolve it. I think we should also own up our own mistakes.
True. Very true.
We have let it slide. I think let's be honest, we've let it slide, right? We were very good at it. So I think if you look at and I'm going back in time, if you could look at the 70s and 80s, the way the big industrial corporate houses set up their schools and the business schools and engineering schools, and the way they hired and managed and long training programs and all that, I think they had the right model. I and I think somewhere with the massive growth and short-term thinking and all that, the industry let go of that part that it used to do very well. And that's where I realized there is opportunity everywhere and somebody needs to fix this,
True.
right? I think the second thing that really made me drive this point is I then went and because I was very inspired by PM Modi's Skill India program, right? I said, end में तो मैं skill की बात कर रहा हूँ, right? I'm talking about skill. So let me look at the man who's trying to do it at the country level. And interestingly enough, when I went into Skill India and did my research and looked at all the different websites and programs and everything, I realized, and for the right reason, so I won't blame the government for it. Everything is focused on vocational or blue collar.
True. True.
right? And it is because that is the base of the pyramid. So obviously you have to solve for it.
True.
And there is no way I am saying that it's wrong. It's 200% right. But the challenge is, if you only solve for them, what do you do for what we could call the white collar? Is essentially people who have spent on an average 10 to 15 lakh rupees in their education, and they can't do a vocational job. They don't want to do it. So the bigger problem now, in fact, if you look at all unemployability reports and all that, the most number of unemployment in our country is with degree holders.
Yes.
Degree or not even diploma holders. Diploma holders get vocational jobs. It's actually degree holders. So, right. So you have basically very expensive resource that you've created, which doesn't want to do rest of the work, and therefore is, I mean, it's sad when I'm not saying one job is better than the other, but it's sad when in Tamil Nadu the job for cleaning staff opens up in the government, PhDs are applying for it.
True. It's really sad.
There is something seriously wrong, right? At that point, you look at that piece of news, you're like, there is something seriously wrong. My country's education system, our job system, our career system, there is something fundamentally wrong. That can't happen. And I think that is when I combined the numbers with this need and said, yeah, both issues are there, both things are there. This requires a proper process-oriented solution,
True.
right? So that was my drive for this particularly.
Great. Uh, so now, quickly, as we were talking about the education system, what do you feel are the top 3 important things missing from the education system, according to you?
So it's a very interesting question. I could get in a lot of trouble saying
Yeah,
giving the
yeah.
answers, but I think I'll take. I have very strong opinions about it, purely being in the sector,
Hmm.
and I think I should. I think any entrepreneur in the edtech or skill tech
And
space should have.
and the and you know what? Today it's the time. I think
Yes,
it's the time we should speak, because uh, these kind of crises which came right now will surely come in future. And today, now you see the students who passed out from various colleges this year is still in a dilemma, is still in an
oh yeah, yeah.
uncertainty zone. The
Yeah.
next year is coming up, so we are going to have a huge pool with the certificates ready in their hand, but but the mindset is not aligned. Maybe the
True.
formal education, you can't rely on those formal education unless you have the mental attitude or the mental state right in for that, and you're not groomed in the right way. So there is a lot which needs to be done, I think. So, and hence we should all come out and speak. Unless we speak, the voice will never be heard.
No, absolutely. I think absolutely. And therefore, let me be brave and say them. I think number one, I think we need to move from a guided learning to a self-learning mode.
Hmm,
Our curriculum, our education system, everything has been um, so focused on guided learning. A child barely hits second or third standard and has a tutor. That's insane,
true.
right? The curriculum, if you look at the CBSE, NCERT, whatever the frameworks we have in the country, I know the NEP has come around, and I have some opinions around that as well. But if you look at all of that, right, it is still focusing on guided learning. There will be somebody who will run you through this curriculum, will run you through this, and I think that is not learning. And in fact, I struggled with it as a child. As I said, I was a nonconformist because I hated guided learning. I wanted to learn things my own
True.
way. And therefore, in a lot of subjects and exams, I actually did very poorly because I didn't write what the teacher wanted me to write. I wrote what I understood.
True.
And that didn't work for the education system, right? It worked very well when, you had practical exams or something like that, because you had to show the outcome, and I showed you the outcome. I don't necessarily believe what you're telling me is the right way. I have my own way. And I think to develop your own way, the self-learning is number one.
True.
And I think this is where EdTech and skill tech and all the platforms which are coming up, they're pushing students. And I'm very happy to say, because we have so many live project interns and young people interns who are working with us right now. In fact, we have opened ourselves to every campus to say, you give us live project interns, we'll hire as many as we can, and we'll break our bank, but we want to make sure we give some very relevant experience. And I'm realizing people are not sitting idle at home. They're doing self learning, they're trying to upskill themselves, right? And therefore comes the second point. I think the second point is, I think we need to start prioritizing skills over degree,
True. Very true.
right? I think degree is fine, but I think our degrees started off with skills in mind, but I think it's gone off that track long back. And yes, therefore, a lot of people say, oh, Abhishek, this new NEP is awesome and everything. I said, yes, awesome, yes. But the people who are still making the decision in the education system are still from the last decade and the other half of the last decade. Millennium, sorry, not the
True.
decade, sorry.
True.
The other half, so they're probably born in the 50s or the 60s, around that period, and they're very close to that period. Someone who got out of the education system in the 60s or the 70s in no way can be managing the curriculum for someone who is now getting out in the 2010s or 2020s. It makes no sense, right? It's a very hard message to swallow, because I'm sure the people who are running the education system are very smart people, absolutely. Don't get me wrong there. I think that, and they deserve to be there. But I think the problem is the world has moved so fast
True.
that that you need a different set of minds and thinking. It's not to say there's anything wrong with their thinking. It's just that I think time has moved too fast.
True.
Just to move too fast for anybody, right? Um, and I think the last piece that I would say with the education system is, we need to first help students select careers and then look for jobs. We are still looking for jobs and trying to build a career.
True.
And I think I'm very proud, for example, to see people from my school, who became news media anchors, who became radio jockeys, who picked up a lot of who picked up a career in arts and other streams, because they first chose a career and they worked towards it, and then they did jobs to build into that career. Whereas someone like me still initially started with, uh, here's my job and I will try to build a career around it. uh, and I think that is really awesome. And I think and that's why I said this is the age of aspiration for the country, where young people should go out and say, I want to do that, right? And our education systems, the parents, everybody should work very hard to say, okay, how do we get you there,
True.
right? Does it require a degree? Does it require some kind of certification? Does it require you to do something else? You know, going off to a particular country, and I don't know if you can do it in
Yes.
COVID times, but you need to go to a 6 months coaching somewhere, or a mentorship program somewhere. Great. Do you need a setup at home? If you want to become a film director, then do we need to create a small studio in our house? Uh, yeah, absolutely. Because it's not like parents have stopped spending money on education, right? Education is the largest spend in
Yes.
during COVID times. It
Yes.
is also the largest, because I had done a lot of research around this, both at Apple and Accenture, and even now, it's the the biggest component of Indian savings goes to only two things: a child's marriage or a child's education,
Education. True.
right? So you're still going to spend money on education. Why not spend it on something that will fundamentally build their career,
True.
rather than worrying about, okay, I got them a BTech, I got them a MBA, done. My job is done. And now the child of yours is actually struggling through a career and probably only starts that career maybe in their mid 30s, right? Where they actually want to go. So the first 10 years in the corporate life, they've just been struggling from one job to the other. And that's why you will see a lot of people change their jobs precisely after 1.5 years. Because the formula is very simple. They go through two promotion cycles or two performance
Two
cycles and
performance.
one promotion cycle.
True.
So if they miss the promotion cycle, they move on. The formula is very straight.
The working for job.
They're working for the next promotion,
Yes.
right? And the problem is they don't get the promotion, then they go and try to find it somewhere else, right? And I think that is no strategy.
True. 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 So thank you so much. I think it's a valuable input for everyone. So for all the right now, all the educators, and apart from education system, I think parents overall, we all need to. We can't see as a parent. I also have a kid. I'm of an opinion that I don't want to rely on any education system for the growth of my child. If I am competent enough, I think I can add value. Maybe I cannot issue a certificate, but I can really groom a child with the right value system. And I think that's what is the need of the hour. Parents should really focus, because there are certain things which we can't control. We can only influence. Education system we can't control. I think what I feel, Abhishek, we are not following the Gurukul's system, where the foundation is being laid in a different way, in a structured, strong way, where there is a, the respect of the education, there is a respect of the educator, and they are treated like, and it's a belief and faith system, which happens. Today, a 6-year-old kid or a student studying in 9th and 10th, they evaluate their teacher whether it is right or wrong, whether this is right. So we are living in such a world where the person who don't know the parameters of evaluation still is evaluating teachers. So my school of thought says that an education system with the right fundamentals, जिस पे हमारा हिंदुस्तान का एक basic foundation built था, जो हमारे यहाँ गुरुकुल का एक modern mechanism built हुआ करता था. आज आप देखें, आप डिग्री होने के बावजूद भी basics नहीं पता है लोगों को. They fail in interviews. I have hired people for around more than 70 SMEs in last 2.5-3 years. All people coming from not big colleges, but yes, from basic good colleges, but still don't know. But their parents have spent huge amount of money in doing that thing done. Yeah. So I think there is a whole need where like, people like you should come in and play that great role. We need to mentor kids. We need to we need to influence education system, and as well as we need to empower parents in the right way. Yeah. I think that's a response.
If I can add one small thing, because you really touched an awesome point. If you can humor me, please. I think the Gurukul system works very well.
True.
The only challenge with the Gurukul system has been it has not upgraded itself fast enough.
True.
When it was started, it was an awesome system. It did its job to the T, right? It split people into basic skills and abilities. That was the core of the Gurukul system, by the way.
True.
Right? Everybody learned everything, but at the end, they were split on skills and abilities, right? And they were therefore given the roles accordingly, and they were shown career paths well before they actually graduated. This is what you will become. I think the challenge is, I've spoken to a lot of school teachers, and they're saying, hey, my school never told me that I will have to do classes over Zoom. This is unfair. I'm learning to make a presentation on my laptop. I've never done it in my life. That is just unacceptable. You're telling me in 2020 that it's either, I don't know whose fault is it. Is it the school or is it the teacher? You can't tell me that you are still expecting that there will not come a time that you will not be teaching on a blackboard or a whiteboard. Right? And I think it's the Gurukul system which is not moved fast enough. I think the system works very well.
Yes.
The only challenge with the system has been the system got too comfortable.
True.
Right? And the same with the corporate world, right? The corporate world got so comfortable with the placement process at different campuses. Oh, these are my standard 5 or 10 campuses I will hire from. I will go every year. I will find the same quality that I found. Keep doing it. I don't need to engage with campuses anymore. I don't need to send my people for speaker sessions. I don't need to call them in for apprenticeship. In India, earlier used to have the apprenticeship model where people used to come and work 6 months
Yes.
in companies and factories, right?
True. True.
And that works brilliantly well. Right?
Yeah.
We just
Yeah.
let it
Yeah.
go. We let it go.
Yeah.
It was just convenience, right? And same with the education system, the Gurukul system. They just let it go. It's like, oh, it's working very nicely,
True.
right? And it's funny, right? I went to school in 99 2000. I am shocked to see even today when I pick up the books, people are learning exactly the same thing.
Yes.
That makes
Yes.
no
Yes.
sense.
Yes. Yes.
How can someone learn the exact same thing I learned 20 years back?
Hmm.
And I can tell you, and you can tell me, the world has changed 100 times over the last 20 years. There is no way we should be learning the same things.
True. 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 So moving to the next question, you have worked with various corporate giants like Accenture, Apple, Schneider, and a lot more. Now you started your own venture, MBAtrek. So far, what all you have achieved, if you have to give credit to your top 5 skills or qualities which has helped you achieve all these things, what will be your, what will you say, or who will get the credit?
Who will get the credit? So let me not try to make one of my skills unhappy.
Okay.
I will try. No. I'll give you a apolitical answer. So the
Okay.
answer is absolutely right. I think the first set of skills or trait. I think it's sometimes hard to say it's a skill or a
Yeah.
trait.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
Maybe a trade.
trait. I think one of the traits that's really worked for me is I think being a non-conformist. I know I'm going back as a record, saying
Again.
the
No.
same
No.
thing again and again, but I think that's really helped me because I've seen things and I've done things that most normal people won't. Right? I think the second thing which has really helped me is I have very strong process orientation, and I like setting up a system, a process, even if it's a personal thing. And I think that has really helped me. Everybody has their own method to madness, I guess.
True.
I think that really helps me. I think uh, building a structured process and a structured mindset around it. I think one thing which has really helped me in again is in a strange way I have been able to speak my mind, and it's gotten me into trouble also. Uh, but uh, but more often than not, it's helped me shine through. And I think I give a lot of credit to my parents or my peer set at that age group, my friends and whatnot, and my ecosystem that I was always able to speak my mind. And I think in the corporate world, um, interestingly enough, I think I was the blue-eyed boy for a lot of senior leaders in all companies because I spoke my mind. So they would get messages and thoughts that they would never get. But I got into a lot of trouble with middle management also because I said a lot of things they didn't want me to say also.
True.
So you would have seen this,
Same.
right?
Same.
So I think, but that works. That's just worked for me. I think overall, net, I think it's really worked for me. Um, I think the last piece, or maybe I would combine points 4 and 5 together. Uh, I've been very resilient. So I like to. It's a favorite saying of mine I have for myself is I don't need to be the smartest person in the room, but I need to be the most resilient person in the room.
Wow.
Right. So when I sit in a meeting, uh, I honestly most of the times I'm outranked by people who are extremely brilliant and smart, and I have been very lucky that even when I went to Georgia Tech, right? I mean, you're talking about the smartest people coming to Georgia Tech. It's probably one of the finest master's program. I was very lucky to get there, and I worked with people from Turkey, Russia, really smart scientists and engineers, really sharp. But I always believed that I was the most resilient person in the room.
Wow.
If something would go bad in the situation, in a project, in something, I would always be the person saying, we will do this. Right. And that's something I've always told my team, and I'm trying to build that culture in my company, is that we will be the most resilient player in this market.
True.
We may not have the most sexy app, we may not have the most sexy UI, but we will not get away from our core value. We will continue to be resilient, continue to work for the customer. And I think that's something which is, again, really worked for me.
Wow.
I don't know if it's a quality or a trait.
No, no. Perfect.
Skill
Something
or a
which has
trait.
helped you. Something.
Yeah.
I think so. So this is a learning. I think this is also what you said is if to all my viewers. So these are certain characteristics of of people who really make it, who really bounce back from situations, challenges, and try to make or try to live their dreams, try to live their passions, and move ahead in life. So we all have, although encountered a pandemic, we have encountered a troublesome situation, an unprecedented, uncertain situation where there is a lot of fear and confusion. But I think this last trait will surely help all of us. Right now, we all need to be resilient, and thank you, Abhishek, for really bringing that out. So now moving ahead and making it a little more interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the next second round is called the rapid fire round.
Okay. Wow. Okay.
Okay, so I will be saying few words. What
Okay.
first word or sentence comes in your mind after listening that? You just have to speak.
Okay. Wow.
You don't
Okay.
have to think much.
Okay.
Okay, so uh, the first one, school.
Fun.
uh, Delhi College of Engineering.
Hard work.
ISB.
Uh, awesome fun. World Cup final graduation day.
Okay. uh, Schneider Electric.
Back to engineering.
Okay. Apple.
Strange but amazing.
uh, Entrepreneurship.
Um, Mind-boggling.
Okay. Innovation.
Every day.
Education system in India.
Change.
MBAtrek.
Hit the ground running.
Family.
Life.
Peers.
Learning.
India.
Growth engine of the world.
And last but not the least, this small initiative, India Bounce Back.
Every time.
Wow. Thank you so much for those spontaneous answers. Wonderful. Moving ahead now, this is the round three and the last round of this interview, where we will talk about what all we have gone through in last 5 months, this pandemic time,
Sure.
and how the new normal will look like,
Mm-hmm.
and all what all you know. So first, my first question: how, according to you, last 5 months have impacted our country, and what impact it had on you as an individual and as a professional?
So I think as a country, let me take that because it's a big one to answer. I think there are positives and negatives. So let's probably start with the negatives in a way because it's a more clear thing. It basically broke a lot of momentum in the country,
True.
everywhere: education, economy, travel, transportation, everything, supply chains. Um, I think the other thing is it 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 changed people's mindset. So now I'm moving towards the positive side. I think the first thing that I think, as not even as Indians but as a race, I think a lot of people are realizing we are only one species out of a million species on this planet. I think it is the most humbling thought ever.
True.
I think we became too big for the world, and Because the thing is, when you look out of your window, the only thing you see is man-made. You forget there is nature. It is the most powerful, most amazing set of uh, physical, chemical, biological, geophysical, magnetic, electric. It's all those forces combined.
True.
And honestly, we don't have no idea how it works.
True.
We can pretend to have Discovery Channel and National Geographic show us 20 shows about how we understand the world. We understand nothing.
True.
Let's be very honest, right? So it's the most complex system ever built. It works on extremely fine balance. And I think that's the most humbling thing. We need to realize it's, it's fun, in a funny way, people say, take a chill pill. Really take a chill pill. It's okay. Like, it's okay you don't grow at 8%. It's
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
It's not a big deal, right? And I think the biggest benefit that India has gotten is, as a country, we've been able to take a collective breath. We were running out of, I think we were running out of air,
True.
literally,
True.
right? We've been running non-stop since 91, I think, as a country, with the growth, with all the development, and a lot of it has been haphazard. A lot of it has been very pollution driven. It's unclean. It's been a lot of NPAs, a lot of financial system being somewhere broken, education system being broken, right? I think the pandemic has put a break on a lot of those things. So it's like every time you get hit in the wall, right?
Yeah.
You will wake up, but by the time you regain consciousness again, your mind is slightly clearer actually,
True.
right? Because your brains have been scrambled enough that your mind actually, when it focuses back, the picture looks even more clearer. I think this wall was kind of good for humanity, but I think it was really good for India. I think we were picking up a lot of bad habits as a country, in a growth model, in an economy, our education, in our banking system, in everything, right? Now there are no unnecessary loans. Nobody's going to take a loan till they can service it. And nobody's going to give you a loan if you're not going to be able to service it,
True.
right? Which means automatically the NPS will go down, right? It's the most basic thing, right? Commercial real estate is not going to go crazy because most people are saying this works. I
Yeah.
can talk to Mr. Dr. Dingra whenever I feel like on
Yes.
Zoom. I don't need to go and meet him in an office.
True.
Not required,
True.
right? So I think that has been something which has, I think, been the positive. I mean, you look outside. You live in Gurgaon. You would have seen. I'm not remembered seeing the stars and the sun in the
Yes.
sky and the clouds for years now. I've lived in the city for 30 years now. I see it every night. It's just it just fills my heart every time I look at it. It's insane. I have a 1.5-year-old daughter. In a normal course of the day, I would check my phone 20 times for AQI readings and then take my daughter out for 5 minutes. Now I just take her out and let her scream and run and shout because I'm so confident outside is absolutely fine.
Fine. True. True. True.
Right? It's the most basic human thing. Um, and I think we were going away from a lot of that, right? And I think we were taking too many things for granted as a country. And I think a lot of like the focus on on the healthcare system, I think we let it slip.
Hmm.
Oh, we'll have some subsidy, we'll have some Ayushman Bharat, we'll have something. No, you have to fix it at the ground level,
True.
right? I mean, think of it, right? In Kota in Rajasthan, right? This IIT coaching every year used to happen. It became such a huge business.
True.
A lot of people used to leave formal education and schooling, go there, seventh standard, sixth standard, eighth standard. People would lose their childhoods essentially to some warped sense of you go to Kota and you'll get to IIT, right? Or whatever. Gone, finished, demolished overnight, right? And probably for the betterment, right? Why should those kids go? They're not going to a boarding school or anything.
Hmm.
They go to some random place where they don't even live a proper life,
True.
or God knows what dream and whose dream, and that's gone now. Finish. You can study online on a tablet. Done. Not required, right? And I think that is really helped. So I think there are a lot of benefits out of this pandemic. I think our country will really benefit from this. I think the important thing though is, and I think biggest thing, just the focus towards hygiene and fitness in the country.
Yes.
I think it is huge. I would have. I mean, we lived in Gurgaon. You lived in. We've had readings of air pollution and what where it is toxic outside and people don't walk around with a mask.
Yes.
You can't see the damn thing and you still wear a mask.
True.
Earlier, you couldn't even see the sky. It was so black and dark and brown and everything. You still not wear a mask. Oh, no, no, it's winter time.
Hmm.
ऐसे ही होता है. It's
ऐसे
okay.
होता है.
It's okay. It's not a big deal.
Hmm.
No, you can't see the damn thing. But you're so aware. You are now, people are debating, oh, whether I have a mask with a valve or not.
Hmm.
That's a discussion on a WhatsApp group. You have suddenly become so educated. You're sanitizing your hands. You're washing your hands. Right? You now realize you should wash your hands all the way to your elbows, not
Hmm.
right, and you need to go in between your fingers. That's something I learned because when you do health and safety,
True.
you learn this basics
True.
in
True.
the field and in plants and all that. So yeah, I mean, I think that's great. I don't think beyond the pandemic there was no way to build this kind of consciousness
Yes. True. Very
into
true.
the country
Very true.
around hygiene or fitness, basic fitness. People are now worried about their lungs and the health of the lungs
Hmm.
because that's the direct correlation people are saying. If my lungs are weak, COVID will have a serious impact on me,
True.
right? Which means then they ask the right question is, am I walking outside in the right air? Is my house properly ventilated? And these are some basic questions we should ask. We never ask because we're too busy growing. We're too busy.
Number game.
Yeah, we're in the numbers game, right? And that's fine. As a country, we should. We are a law of large numbers. We are a land of large numbers, and therefore the law of large numbers applies to us. And we should continue to grow. By the way, that does not mean that ambition goes down.
Yeah.
But I think having the right ambition, and I think that is, if there is nothing that India takes away from this, I think would be to, as a country, we need to strive for the right set of ambitions now.
True.
Not go run after uh, Western or Eastern or whatever concepts of growth, right? There is an Indian way to grow. It was always sustainable. I think we've forgotten it.
True.
I think it's time we pulled it back. We look back our old texts, our old way of life and all that. It doesn't mean that we don't aspire for material things and growth, and we aspire for everything, but we do it the Indian way, I
True.
think,
True.
right? I think personally, I think it's been amazing. I've spent so much time with my daughter. She's 1.5 years old now. I think one of the biggest thing for me has been the fact that before this, we drop her at the grandparents, and and my wife would spend an hour or two with her in a day because the entire day we're at work. Now, I've been very lucky that she's been sleeping for almost 2 hours. Otherwise, she would be running through this interview and shouting and screaming. And thank God she hasn't. But it's okay. And here's the interesting part. It is okay,
Yeah, it's okay.
right? It is okay to have personal and professional life mix, right? And I think we had created um, this choice in life that either you prioritize personal life or you prioritize professional life. I think the boundaries have blurred, and for the right thing, right? And why do you live life? You live life for your family, right? In a way,
True.
effectively,
True.
not necessarily for a profession. A profession keeps you busy, gives you the money, gives you the lifestyle and everything, but it is not the fundamental thing, right? When you finish your life or you're finishing off, I know, getting very philosophical, um, but it is the family which is going to be there, not your profession,
True. True.
right? So your profession will not see you off from the world, but your family will,
True.
right? So, and I think we were all making difficult choices unnecessarily,
Yes.
right? And now actually we don't have to because we have no choice. We
Yeah.
are we are all we are all locked down together in the same house, so you deal with it,
Yeah.
right? and I think it's great.
Yeah,
It's
it's
just great
great.
for me
True,
personally and professionally, and I think it has helped me actually become more creative professionally,
true.
because I don't need to check a phone and look at the camera and look at what my daughter's doing. I can hear her. It, that just hearing her tells me how good or bad she is. That's it.
True,
I
true.
don't have to look at a an app and check the camera in her room to see where she is, and then I freak out if I can't see her.
Mm,
Then I'll call somebody and say, where is she? What
mm.
is she doing? Why aren't you telling me where she is and all that? Now you don't need to do that. Like it's okay. You hear her screaming. Now she's very quiet, so I know she's sleeping. Very good. I can take my interview in peace.
Great,
And
great.
yeah.
No. So I think to conclude this, I think this is something I've been also training, coaching people, and then one of the fundamental which I also teach is there are different ingredients which create a life, job,
Hmm.
career. This is just one piece of life. This is not life. I think I have seen people going aggressively where job is equal to life. Everything job is equal to life, or their ambition is equal to life. If we don't mix all these ingredients, we will never able to have the great dish ready.
Yeah.
So I think this time has made us realize that importance of every ingredient of life.
Yeah. Yeah. In fact, one of my managers, I can't remember the name, but he made a great statement. He said, Abhishek, there are many balls you juggle in life. Every ball is made of rubber except the one which is made of glass. He said, your career, your job, your salary, all are rubber balls. You drop them, they'll come back up. It takes some time. You have to bounce it really hard. It'll come back up. The problem is the family ball is made of glass. You
True,
drop it,
true,
it shatters, and it takes a long time to put the pieces together.
true,
And that's something which has, I think it has grown on me as I have grown. Also, it started to make far more sense.
true.
It didn't make sense when I was in my early 20s. It absolutely didn't make
That
sense,
was
honestly. But I think now I really understand it. And I think it's, yeah, I think,
good. So to all the viewers, this is again a very, very important message. And I think all of you, all the people who are still hungry for designations or, aspiration, there's no, we are not saying that you should not aspire to become something, but, all these elements are ingredients to create a beautiful dish called life. I think we need to focus on every
yeah.
ingredient, and we need to make sure that we give equal time, equal importance to every aspect. Moving ahead, Abhishek, my next question: how do you see the world of digital learning moving and evolving as we move towards the new normal?
Oh, wow. I think that's an amazing question. I think it'll change. It's changing. Sorry. It is changing on a day-to-day basis. Let me
Yes,
be very clear,
yes,
right? It is changing on a day-to-day basis, and it will continue to evolve and change. I think it's going to get more real. So it's very strange word to use. The virtual world is going to become more real,
yes.
right? I think uh, online degrees, which were often laughed upon, um,
Will
or
be the new
online
normal.
will be the new normal, right? They used to be treated with a very watered down approach.
Yes,
Acha, normal degree nahi mili to online kar liya, like that kind of mentality where, or basically you went for second grade kind or B grade kind of option. I think that's really going to change massively. I think I think there are different aspects to it. So the K to 12, which is the kindergarten to 12 standard, I think there will be a lot of focus on trying to capture the customer's attention,
mm,
because the challenge with the K to 12 child is uh, uh, by nature, kids learn experientially. They want to touch, feel, hold, experience things. You're trying to teach them through something which is not experiential. That is actually very hard,
true.
right? I think for the professional and higher education, which is the 18 years plus, sort of 12th standard and beyond, I'll split it further. So I think the college going students, I think for them the online learning is going to be completely skills. They're going to focus a lot on skills, right? Because I think a lot of people are realizing I need to have product management, coding skills, or Python, or all that different other stuff that's coming through. Um, and I think for the professional segment, which is essentially people started working,
Mm.
I think the softer part of the skills are coming together,
True.
which were, I think, often beaten down. I think EQ has a huge role to play.
Mm.
uh, the ability to manage change, the ability to deal with uh, pure adaptability and flexibility. Because think about it. You may not travel for 2-3 months, but you may be asked to travel randomly to Bombay overnight
True.
for one meeting, and you have to come back
True.
in 4 hours. That would be insane. Nobody would travel like that in a regular course. So if you were a sales guy, like you've been a
Yeah.
sales guy, right?
Yeah.
What do you do typically? You set up your sales meeting. So you will go to Bombay, you will take Bombay's map, you will start with South Bombay and then go all the way to North Bombay. You will mark up everything, and then you will, as a typical Delhiite, you will curse Bombay traffic all the way
Yeah.
through, right? And you will do this over 5 days. You will make sure your hotel is in the middle somewhere,
Yes. Yes.
right, in Bandra and all. You will set up a 5-day trip to Bombay. Over the weekend you will go and meet your friends, and then Sunday night you come home. And now you will just go for one meeting, right? You land into the airport, you do your meeting, you probably not even face the person, have a shield between you and them, do the meeting, go back. Are you ready to do business like that? And I think that is the key thing now for the professional setup, or the young professionals now. You need to learn to deal with all of that. You need to be able to build connection with someone who is worried meeting you because they're thinking, oh, they've come from Delhi,
Mm.
or this person's come from Bombay. Their rates, or the COVID rates, are rising there. Should I be even sitting in this room with this person? How do you break the ice? How do you build that human connection that suddenly for at least 2 hours that person forgets that worry and they talk business with you? Because
True.
otherwise the only thing they're doing is sitting like this.
Mm.
And even by mistake you do, and they're like, oh,
Yeah.
I need to go. I'm sorry. They
Yeah.
make some excuse. And if for God's sake you sneeze, like please, I think don't sneeze in a professional meeting, please, especially face to face. No, I'm just joking. But think about it. That is the level of anxiety that people are dealing with, right?
Yeah.
Especially if you're meeting a senior CXO and whatnot, right? Uh, so how do you become so flexible? How do you have the EQ where you build that connection with the people? Those are more important skills than having the degrees and all those tech skills and all that, which people get too worked up about. I think
True.
people put too much importance to them and not realize that the more human skills are actually more valuable. In the age of technology, actually, the more human skills are more valuable.
Because the rest will be taken care by the
This
technology.
will be taken care by technology. Why do you want to? In fact, it's actually silly. You're trying to learn something that technology will make obsolete.
Yes.
That's actually silly. Why would you learn coding?
True.
Learn how to write the best code, though.
Yes.
Learn how to build the best logic. I think that would be more. So, logical thinking would be far more valuable than writing code.
True.
But even if you, and we faced this as a challenge as a company initially, and we'd go and tell this to business school students or engineering students, they look at us blankly. They're like, "What is wrong with you?
Mm.
Boss, coding se job milti hai." And I was like, "Okay, that's fine."
True.
Now people are coming back and say, "Oh, you are actually right. Logical thinking se job milti hai. Coding is just a
True.
coding is just a mechanism,
True.
right?"
True. True.
Uh, and I think that is the key thing. I think that's the change which will come in online learning, that the core will come out, right? The things which have been hidden, I think those will really come out in online learning.
Wow. Good. Although I know the answer of the next question, but still I will ask you: are you confident that India will bounce back?
Yes, and I think the answer is based with could be supported with a lot of logic and facts. We will bounce back because, as I said, we are a country of aspiration.
True.
right now. We are in that aspiring phase. We need to grow, not because there is a mad desire to grow. We need to grow because we have to grow,
True.
right? There are a lot of basics which haven't been sorted in the country. By the way, a lot of people talk about a lot of aspirational things, like the bullet train and this and that. Yeah, sure, sure, absolutely. But the thing is, even if you focus on the basics in the country, you have growth for the next 50 years.
True.
If
Very
we
true.
just have to provide food, water, electricity, healthcare, insurance, and telecom to everyone, that's enough. That will keep us alive and going and kicking and surviving for the next
For
50
the next
years,
50 years.
right? Because we are the law of large numbers. When you have 1.2 billion people, automatically the scale will kick in,
True.
right? It's the classic concept of economics that your average marginal cost will start to drop. The only challenge is you have to find the right scale.
True.
The moment the scale kicks in, you can deliver anything in India at literally 0 rupees effectively from a cost standpoint. Because if enough people start buying it, uh, your cost of delivery goes down to almost next to nothing,
True.
right? So I think that's the key thing. And as a country, we should never fear that the growth will stop or whatever. I just think what's missing sometimes is we go back to the same set of growth engines, and when we don't see growth there, we panic. What we're not seeing is different aspects of growth.
Mm.
There are many other aspects of growth, right? I think one of the biggest thing with the reverse migrant crisis has been, and hopefully I think the politicians, I think they're smart enough people, they will realize it, that the focus has to go back to rural India.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. No
In
second
fact,
thought about it.
in fact, urban India should go into maintenance mode now.
Yes.
You've actually, by the way, you kind of screwed up urban India in a way.
Yeah.
It's in a pretty bad shape. So
Yes.
the only thing you do about urban India is you clean up. You clean up, you clean up, you clean up, right? And in fact, in a way, you actually welcome people going back to the villages, and you create self-sustaining, complete ecosystems and economies on the rural sector. And by the way, that is also your vote bank. So you might as well do
Yes.
it. You
Yes.
will
Yes.
get a vote every 5 years,
True.
right? So let's clear the clutter. This is a great opportunity. We've we've not had this opportunity in 50 years,
Yes.
right? Strangely enough, we suddenly got that opportunity, right? And I think this is the next wave of growth. Why
Yes.
not go to rural India and say, I will make rural India completely self-sustaining. Let it not have to rely on urban India for everything,
True. 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 True.
right? Uh, and that would be great.
So again, it's very well very well said, and I think a lot needs to be done in that sector. And before we conclude this discussion or on this point, tomorrow, as I know, in Haryana and Punjab, uh, a lot of farmers are coming on the street to
Yeah.
protest. I think so. We just say that everything goes in peace, but this when we see all these elements happening, and we are not still able in seven after years of independence, being into a agriculture country, hugely dependent on agriculture, we still are having not able to make a great plan or a great strategy for that sector. I think your point is valid. I think go back to the roots, focus on that element. There's a huge lot needs to be done, and we can become we really can become a power center in that domain area.
No, absolutely. And it's just a funny thing, right? Today in India, if you ask about aspiration again, aspiration and inspiration, most people will say, "Oh, we should become the giant of this world. We should become the next. We should have 5 Silicon Valleys." Why doesn't somebody come and say, "We will create $5 trillion only out of agriculture"?
True. True.
But
True.
no, no. Unfortunately, nobody has that conversation.
Yes.
Everybody will talk about how world-class manufacturing. Why should world-class manufacturing move to India? Why can't we become world-class agriculture?
I think a
but
good point.
but what we are looking at, so the challenge, I think, in some way has been, we don't look at agriculture as a business. We are looking at it as a means of livelihood,
True.
and therefore our first response as a country, not even politicians, is subsidy,
Yes.
right? And yeah, I mean, it does its job, sure, but over a period of time it has been proven that it's counterproductive, right? Because essentially you are not helping create a free market, and you are not giving confidence to farmers in the farming ecosystem that free market is the right thing for them.
True.
Today they have only seen a subsidy driven model, and therefore they only believe in that. You haven't shown them the right thing. And the thing is, we've never looked at agriculture as a fundamental mass business that we could scale as a country, right? We've scaled auto. We have gotten to the top 5 auto companies in the world. We've scaled IT. We will hopefully scale the tech sort of, platform. There are many other industries where we have gone up, maybe, but yeah, I mean, maybe a couple of products in agriculture, sure, here and there, but
Yes, but not as a
nobody
whole.
has, yeah, nobody has gone back and said, how do I make India number one agriculture country in the world? End of story, right? And I think that would be a great economic goal, right?
True.
And it'll bring all the concepts of growth, sustainability, livelihood, all that wonderful thing together. Uh,
True.
Maybe it's very easy to say it, very difficult
Yes.
to do.
Yes. But
Uh,
I think some initiatives, something needs to be done, and I think we all can support our bit. I think like the way you are doing on your own end, I'm doing from my own end. I actually have trained a lot of agriculture entrepreneurs trying to set up different different ideas. I have done a lot of sessions with sarpanch of different villages.
Very nice,
I've
lovely.
done all that stuff wherever whatever possible in my own capacity and my understanding. So
No,
uh,
absolutely,
yeah,
lovely.
yeah, I think there is a need, and I see a huge lot of potential. The best part I like, I tell you, and I assume that you also will feel great about it. The best part which I like about supporting these people or working with them is the intent. They are not greedy of money. They really want a good solution to come up. They really listen to you, and they really listen you with a great intent, like you're actually giving them a intent. The intent is to grow, but not just a greedy intent. That's something I really like when I sit with these kind of people. They really want to see how best can be done from the motherland, from the fields, how best production can come, how I can create a value for my product, how I can market it in a great way. So all these small elements, so they are not greedy. The greed is not there. Aspiration is there. And i
Yeah,
really i really
yeah.
love that intent, and I really every time I go and support these people, I really feel valuable myself.
I'll change it probably a little bit from my perspective, because I've worked with a lot of people in the field. Actually, at Accenture, I've done a lot of projects with farming cooperatives as well. I think they have a different view of the world.
Yes.
I don't know if it's greed versus not greed. I think it is long term versus short term. I think they have a sustainable view of everything, because and I think also is because they are so close to nature.
Yes.
They understand nature's feedback loop, that if you mess with nature, it will mess back with you very quickly,
True.
right?
I think a very valid point. Very valid point.
Right.
Very
So
valid.
so what happens is, therefore, they will always maintain balance in everything that they do.
True.
Whereas, you know, us folks in, let's say, in the professional setup or in an urban setup and all, we get so remote from the nature, we actually forget there are a lot of feedback loops which are naturally built into the world. And when you stress one feedback loop too much, when it recoils back, the effect, and the pandemic is, by the way, just a simple feedback,
Yes.
right? It's just a simple feedback loop. This is not nothing new for the nature. It's been doing it for millennia.
True.
Right? Pandemics is not a big deal. It's a very normal thing. Like if nature was sitting and watching, and it's like, yeah, it's normal. Why
Hmm.
are these guys panicking so much? It's not a big deal. What is
True.
wrong with you?
True.
There's no big deal about it from a nature standpoint. It's a simple feedback loop. It just happened a little more strongly than normal,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
But that's the thing, and I think that's the difference in the mindset. The mindset there is sustainable because they understand the feedback, how the feedback loops work together,
True.
which we don't. So what happens in, and I think this is the same thing with the careers that we're telling students, that do not over index on something, maintain the balance in your career, in your life and everything, because over a period of time a lot of things will autocorrect themselves.
Yes.
You have to keep working towards the right set of goals, maintaining the balance, maintaining your learning, maintaining the growth, uh, because there will be a year you will get promoted and you will learn nothing in life. There will be a year that you will only learn and not get promoted and not even get merit increase, right? That's absolutely fine.
True.
Both years are equally important. But the problem is people only give value to the year you get promoted
Yes.
and forget the year they learned heavily,
Yes. Yes.
right? And eventually, when somebody will sit in an interview and say, "Hey, what did you learn in your last job?" and you have no answer because you forgot the learning,
True.
right? And I think that is the key thing. And I think, as I said, I think the pandemic is doing a fantabulous job of actually making that front and center to all of us, that, take a deep breath. There are a lot of good things happening also in the world. There are a lot of things you have to be very grateful about,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And I mean, I would tell every student and young professional, if I can use this forum to say that, consider yourself extremely lucky that you are in the age of technology, great internet, brilliant devices, and people who have a lot of corporate experience. Corporate India is not young anymore. Corporate India has been around for a while, right? Imagine this pandemic happening in the 90s.
Mm.
How would you learn? How would you upskill? There is no upgrade. There
True.
is no MBAtrek.
True.
There is no other company like this.
True.
Nobody is even thinking of building those companies. In a way, if this pandemic had to happen, it's okay it happened in 2020. At least you have the ecosystem to carry you forward. At least you can still do your classes.
True.
Imagine this happened 30, 40 years back. I would just be absolute panic. People would just sit at home and just give up on life. I'd say, okay, this it would almost be like a nuclear war situation. It's okay. We'll go into our bunkers and we'll show up after 1 year. We'll show up next year or next 1.5 years. That would be the situation. You still get online delivery. You can continue to live life exactly the way it was.
True.
Yeah, I mean, with a lot of changes, sure, but there is a lot of things to be happy about, right? There's a lot of good things we've built. There are a lot of bad things we've built also,
Yes.
uh, which has been undone also nicely, and very nicely so. So yeah, no.
Good. 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 So moving to the last question, what will be your top three messages for the people of the country?
I think to all fellow countrymen and women, I think the key thing is, let's look for the next set of inspiration and growth. Let's do things differently. I think that's the second thing. So let's look for new areas. Let's try to do the same things, but do it them differently, in a more sustainable, in a more clean, green, and long-term way. I think that's one way. And I think the third piece, I would say, um, we have to grow the three pillars of our society, which is education, healthcare, and uh, and I think women. I really think so. I think we have let one half of the population fundamentally unproductive, right? Because of whatever reasons. This is too
Yeah.
complex to for someone
Talk
like
about.
me. I'm maybe too small to answer, but I think there is so much that we can do for our women that we have not done. And I think these are the three core pillars of the country that we completely missed out in our growth story. It's the education, the healthcare, and women. And actually, women are also at the center of both education and healthcare, interestingly enough.
Yes.
So I just think if we go back to these three basic tenets and say we will solve for this and we only solve for this, I think our growth is taken care of. We will get 8% every year. I wish somebody would come back and some economist can prove me right. I'm just speaking maybe from a heuristic standpoint, but I fundamentally believe if you solve for these three things, you solve for your growth. Finish. Nothing else is required.
True, 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 true.
That would be my view on this one.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. That was Mr. Abhishek Srivastava. Thank you so much for amazing insight, for a heart-to-heart conversation. I think we actually extended the time limit, but
Yes, quite.
the conversation was so we were so engrossed in this conversation, and I think viewers will also love it because we were really touching some key areas and key points. So thank you so much, Abhishek, for taking out time, and it was really privileged to have you have all that conversation, and I think we will surely be able to have a good impact on the viewers. So to all my viewers, stay tuned for another episode with another eminent personality. Till then, take care, be productive, work, don't think too much about all the negative elements. There is a lot to be done, and a bright future is on the way ahead, and we need to grab it. And India will bounce back, and no one can stop it. Thank you. I was with your host, Dr. Anshul Dhingra, signing off now. Abhishek, once again, I really want to thank you from the complete team of India Bounce Back. And I think now it's your time to also go, because I heard somebody's awake now.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Thank you so much. I think just a message to everyone, let's become the age of inspiration. I think it is time. As a country, we have grown, we'll continue to grow, but let's become inspiration for the world.
True.
How to come out of the pandemic and build a completely different growth engine. I think we are probably one of the best set of countries who can set up a different model for the world altogether.
Sure.
Build a different economic and growth model.
Wow. Thank you so much with these great words. Signing off. All the best. Take care and stay tuned for the next episode. Bye-bye.
Bye.